Welcome to Issued for Construction. I'm your host, Jonathan Jacobs, and today I've got with me a gentleman from Canada, not from Toronto. He's currently in Montreal, but his work is all over the world. Today I've got with me a gentleman whose name is François Roupinian, and he owns a practice called Lightemotion. François, you did not sing the intro, so there was theme music over this.
I can sing now if you want, but you might lose a few viewers if I start singing. You know?
Well, I want to thank you. I want to thank you for taking the time to do this out of your day. I know that that there are always other things that could be done that are billable that are way more exciting than talking about yourself. But I do like the format, and I do think what you do is interesting. So why don't we get into one? Let's say who you are and what your business is really briefly. Let's do the elevator pitch on what that is, and then from there we're gonna move off of that, and we're gonna go into your childhood and where you were born and all those fun things.
Oh, it's a therapy session, I guess.
Oh yeah.
Okay,
You'll get my invoice at the end of this all.
Okay.
Before we dive into the story of François, let us talk about the spaces where life truly happens. Behind every great residential project, whether it is a private residence or a sprawling multifamily development, or shared functional spaces within a multi-residential building, is the kitchen equipment that makes it operate flawlessly. Taking a legacy business and expanding upon it requires incredible vision. If you look at Weston Road over the last 20 years, it has transformed from the quiet commercial strips into a booming, high-density transit hub. Through all that massive neighborhood evolution, Kaplan's Appliances has not only remained a staple, but has expanded its reach far beyond local borders. A perfect example of this forward-thinking vision occurred in 2009 when they opened the Millet Gallery at Kaplan's, which was the very first showroom of its kind in North America. Much like François works out of Montreal and Toronto but touches projects all over the world, Kaplan's works with manufacturers globally. They frequently collaborate with local architects and designers on international projects. And I'll describe what I mean when I say international projects, because when you are dealing with clients who have very limited time and hand off major decisions to their design partners because they're international, having a dedicated supplier is critical. The staff at Kaplan's understand the significance of knowing these premium brands inside and out, and exactly how they will interact with the overall design. In this industry, service is paramount. If an issue ever arises, you need a supplier that acts with the same exact care and method as the designer or the architect does for the client. Kaplan's provides that seamless, high-level support to ensure that clients' needs are always met. If you want to learn more about working with Kaplan's and how they can support your most important projects, please feel free to take a look at the liner notes, or you can email me directly and I'm happy to connect you. It's Jonathan, Jonathan, at issuedforconstruction.ca. Now, back to François.
Well, my name is François Roupinian. I'm a lighting designer. I specialize in architectural lighting and museum and brand experience.
Yep.
I own a firm called Lightemotion.
Yep.
We're on our 24th or 25th year this year. I never remember.
You don't know.
I don't know. We're incorporated in 2002, so someone do the math for me.
A24.
Yeah. And so we are been in business for 24 years, and we are a bunch of dedicated lighting nerds, I would say.
Yeah.
Passionate about lighting, but mostly about taking care of our clients.
Okay.
You know, serving them well in terms of lighting, and really try to sort of extrapolate and translate what is their need on a very like psychological level, emotional level. What could lighting be for the project?
Okay.
And this could be a museum, it could be an hotel, it could be a facade, it could be anything.
Okay. So we're gonna go do a deep dive into like what this world looks like as we go a little further into this conversation. First, we're gonna teleport back in time. We're gonna go further than 24 years. Tell us where you were born. Tell us what it was like for you growing up in your family. Did you have siblings? What did your parents do? Let's go. I know. Let's get into it. For what it's worth, I did tell François, don't listen to any of the previous episodes. Come in raw, and that way
I did not listen to anything. So I was born. So I'm 55 this year.
Okay.
But I'm probably 18 in my head.
Yep.
And the maturity of a 32-year-old.
Oh, well, that's okay. As long as you don't have the maturity of an 18-year-old.
Not bad. So I was born in Montreal. A very interesting story. My dad was a Frenchman. Actually, was born in Paris from Armenian parents. And after the Second World War, he actually moved to the US. All of his family moved to New Jersey. They were tailors. And living in the US for like 9 years. At one point, he came to Montreal. I think it was like the Expo years. They spoke French. He came to a dance, met my mom, and decided to never go back to the US and
never return.
Never came back.
Holy man, she must have had an allure to as who she was as a person.
Without papers, but anyway, that's a different conversation. So my mom was a nurse, a Quebecer, and I was born in 1971, and raised by I was in Montreal in Outremont back then, where it was a very like popular sort of area with a lot of families. And I often tell people I was born on the asphalt. I'm a city person.
Okay.
My first memories of being young is playing in the street, playing in the alleys, talking to everybody on the street. So that was me growing up, and then life happens in families. I stayed with my dad.
Yep.
And I was like raised by my dad, and we moved to other areas in Montreal. And I've always been a bit of a connector.
Okay.
I've always been very in tune with people around me.
What?
I could have been abducted many, many times in my life. I used to talk to everybody on the street.
You put a lot of trust in humankind.
A lot of trust. If I had kids, I would not do that. But raised in Montreal. Montreal was a very interesting place in the 70s. A lot of different cultures, a lot of different things happening, a lot of different neighborhoods.
And what were your interests? Like, what were you when you were in school? What were you interested? When you were out of school, what did you want to do? Like, were you climbing trees, or were you working on science and experiments? Like, what kind of kid were you?
So when I was a kid, like in primary school, I used to. I was never good in sports.
Okay.
And I used to be the commentator. I used to comment like dodgeball games in the yard. So I had a fake mic, and Ronnie is hitting the ball, and I was sort of like, I'm a goofer. I would always goof around, make jokes.
Yeah.
I was a bit of the clown in the classroom, but a polite, studious clown. I used to play guitar. So when I was a kid, I played guitar.
You play classical, acoustic, electric?
I used to play classical.
Okay.
And the funny thing with this is that, so my mom gave me a guitar. Okay. I was raised by my dad. I was not with my mom. My mom had some health issues, and she gave me a guitar when I was in second grade. And in my youth, I used to play guitar every day, 3-4 hours. And I loved playing guitar. And I stopped when I was a teenager because we become dumb when we're in our teens. And I restarted to play guitar about 6 months ago.
Okay.
So that's another story. So I was young. I used to play guitar, used to sing in primary school, play with people, play around. I used to.
What music influences did you have back then?
So when I was young, I'm always been into music. I remember when I was probably 6 years old, my mom took me to Eaton in like the store.
Yeah.
And in Montreal, on the 5th floor, there was like the records, there was the toys, and there was a hairdresser. So my mom would go get a hair done, and she would dump me in between the toys and the records and the music. And I used to go and I used to buy like those 45, small records.
Yep.
And soul, Motown music. And I would just be attracted by the visual of the record. And there's always a cool person, in that department putting on a record and telling me which one it was at 6 years old, imagine.
Yeah.
5, 6 years old.
So I'm curious, is this like you talking like Aretha Franklin and
Yeah. I
what's
have
it
a
called?
blank, like the song, like this is it. This is it. Da-na-na-na-na. I forget the name. Listen, I have a blank, but that record, it was Natalie Cole. That
Oh,
record was like
Nat King
my
Cole.
record. Yeah,
Okay.
Natalie Cole, his daughter, Natalie Cole.
Oh, Natalie Cole. Okay.
Yeah, so I was young. So that was like this when I was very, very young. And as a young, like in 3rd grade, 4th grade, I used to listen to underground music. I used to love, back then Duran Duran, Culture Club. But then I went rapidly into like Tears for Fears, like the first
Oh,
album of Tears for Fears.
good
The
stuff,
first
man.
album, that was like the best album ever. And then B-52, the first album, the B-52s,
What about
Rock Lobster.
What about the Police?
That was a bit
No?
later on for me.
Zeppelin?
No,
No.
I was really into like,
Interesting.
I was like Tears for Fears,
Yeah.
B-52s. I used to love like late, The Cure, PIL.
Yep.
I was, yeah. So
Okay.
it was very interesting. I when I was like in high school, the first years I wanted to be a preppy. So we had no money. So my dad, we were not very rich. So I would work at McDonald's at 14 years old, flipping burgers.
Yep.
And then I would go on Saturdays to the warehouses in Chabanel in Montreal. And Chabanel, this is where they used to have all the clothing business. And on Saturdays in Montreal, they used to have like defect day. So every Saturday morning, you can go to Polo Ralph Lauren's and buy the defects. But the defects did not really show. So I remember I used to go in January listening to like PIL and The Cure and all this heavy music or Bauhaus.
Yeah.
And wait in line to buy a defect polo. So it was really interesting.
Yeah.
So music was always been a very big part of my life. I think it's funny because I went into lighting, not sound, but I always loved music. I would play music all the time, and it was a big thing.
I mean, you think of any major musical tour, and the lighting is what makes the tour. So
Yeah.
I mean, I just go there. I mean, in the way that it can go on and off, the colors, whether it's soft light, it's direct light. Like there's like so many different ways you can look at that. So when you were playing guitar, were you learning any of the songs or the music you were listening to, or were you just playing for yourself?
When I was playing guitar, I was like a auto learner. So there was courses in primary school of guitar.
Yeah.
I used to compose. I was like in 5th grade. I used to compose songs. I used to jam, like for hours at night, playing my guitar. And I was a very self-sufficient kid,
Right.
meaning that, my upbringing was very different from like a typical mom and dad situation.
Yep.
But I was always resourceful. I had my guitar, I would play guitar. When I was a very young kid, I used to love Star Wars. I used to go to the bathroom and look at, where you have the sink and the porcelain holder for the soap. And for me, I would imagine like spaceships. I would imagine, like the soap was like a spaceship landing, and the ceramics were all like the opening where like in Star Wars where you could go into the Death Star. So I was really a lot of imagination.
I have to. Well, this is not a visual podcast. I'm gonna break for a second into what I would normally do, because I'm gonna show you, François, something that I look at every day here in my office.
Okay.
For anyone that's recorded this live, you'll have seen this, but it is
Oh my God, are you serious?
Original blasters from the 70s, a toy that uses a 9-volt battery, makes sound, everything in like mint condition.
I'm jealous.
I have this, and I have a couple other cool artifacts from Star. I am a massive Star Wars fan as well.
Listen, one of the first movies my dad took me was the first Star Wars movie.
Yeah.
And it was in a theater called the Imperial on Blu-ray.
Amazing.
One of the most beautiful theater. I remember being like, when you're young, you're so close to your dad. Like my dad was my hero.
Yeah.
And I remember being with him and just waiting in line. And in life, often what touches us is not B, it's the process from going from A to B. So I remember the movie, but I remember and I'm touched by just being with my dad, waiting in line for that movie.
With
Because the
anticipation,
process,
right?
because in life, the process, things that amount to something, in the process of doing something, the end result is amazing, but the way you get there, the people that
Yes.
you interact with, the people that you exchange with,
Yes.
that's amazing. Yeah. So anyway, love music. I love Star Wars. I love Goldorak, whatever it's called in English. I used to be a big fan of I've always been a bit of a sci-fi buff.
Yeah.
So in high school, what's interesting is that in high school, again, I was this preppy guy. Imagine that, preppy guy listening to very underground music. And I would hang around with people that were more like alternatives,
Yeah.
like dressed in black, big baggy pants. And then I became alternatives. I traded my Ralph Lauren's, my polo for black baggy pants.
Yeah. I mean, you're trying to, as a teenager, you're always trying to find yourself and figure out, like, what,
Yeah,
who am I? Where do I fit in? What's my place? All these
exactly.
things. So, did you ever in high school? Did you ever join like as a part of the play on the back end, like do lighting or sound or anything like that?
No,
Or that was never really a thing that you were interested in.
no, I think I was really more involved in like in group activities in primary school. We had a really great school where in Villeray, where I used to live,
Yeah.
Saint Cecile, and it was an amazing music teacher. She was incredible. So I was really into that when I was in primary school. In high school, for my first 2 years, I was in a huge school, like 3,000 students. So it was more to be an individual. And then in third year of high school, I went to private Collège Français, which is interesting because in a public school, you would think it's a bit more rough. There's more people, but when I went to private school, it was much more rough. People were less studious. It was very
Right.
interesting.
Right.
So no, I was more of I had friends, but I think I was not a bit of a loner, but I was doing my own things. And then, mid high school, you're like 15 and a half, you're starting to want to go out. So slowly, sneaking into a nightclub and
I mean, when you're growing up in Montreal, the benefit there is that it's only 18 years old, right?
yeah.
You're-
Also, yeah, for sure. And also Montreal, like in the 80s, there was a movement, where like underground house, like
yes.
the nightclubs were very important. And when my first years of high school, when me and my dad moved, I had my own room. And in my room, I remember I started to play with light. At night I would listen to music and I would play with my table lamps, that I would put them on the ground, set up the table. So then I would create shadows and ambiance. So I was already in tune with like this sort of like low light, atmospheric,
Starting to dabble.
dabble with the atmosphere of light, just not just lighting as a general thing.
Right.
And then as a teenager, as a kid going to clubs, well, lighting took a whole another level.
Before we continue talking about how light completely transforms an environment, let us talk about the architectural elements that actually let the natural light in. When you are designing a space and you want the feature to be the item you see through the glass rather than the frame itself, having a company that understands the importance of this vision is what changes a project. That is exactly what the Doors provides. Privately owned by the husband and wife duo Marta and Martin, the Doors is a premier supplier of European windows and doors. They supply their premium products all over North America and extend right into the Caribbean and the Bahamas. While they provide everything from vinyl and fiberglass to wood-clad and low-profile steel windows, their absolute mainstay is their low-profile aluminum window systems. With these, the glass is the true feature. The incredibly thin profile case is high in its thermal breaks, providing exceptional thermal performance and insulation for the home. These systems are available in multiple types of colors to perfectly match your aesthetic needs. If you want to push the architectural boundaries of your build, the Doors has the technical capabilities to make it happen. They provide opportunities for creating glass as corners between walls, or seamlessly bridging glass between walls and roof lines. They can do curved glass, execute massive 20-foot spans high or 20-foot spans wide, and they offer premium European tilt and turn systems for industry-leading brands like Aluplast, Rayners, and Schuco. In addition to their windows, their custom fiberglass, wood, and steel doors are truly magnificent works of art. Let us see how what you have planned can completely change for the better with a product as good as theirs. If you want to learn more about the doors, you can head over to the liner notes to check out their website, or you can email me directly and I'll set up a personal introduction between you and their team. It's Jonathan, Jonathan, at issued4construction.ca. Now, back to François.
And when did you have, did you ever have the black light bulb, or did you ever get what's it called, the lava lights?
No, I didn't.
Okay.
What I did, actually, what's interesting is that in the 80s, again, in the clubs and in design, there was a movement of like brutalism, concrete. Montreal, there's a lot of design movement where they would mix like curtain, metal, concrete.
Yep.
And as a kid, 15, 16 years old, the first club I went was called the Thunderdome, which was a huge, you hear the name, huge metal staircase, crazy, rock and roll lighting, very rough. And then there was the business. And the business for me was like the beginning of my inspiration. It was the most incredible club ever. It was a small club on Saint Laurent Street. It was designed by, I forget his name, I think it was Gilles Laporte, or one of the famous architects in Montreal. Alain Lortie, a famous lighting designer in Quebec, was doing the lighting design. And it was this giant concrete cube with metal. It was super designed, but it was like you would go into that space and you would feel an emotion. It was not a glitter club. It was more of an underground place.
Okay.
Made for the senses. Like the sound system was incredible. The lighting was super theatrical, done by Alain Lortie. And this is where, I discovered, I think I started to love light.
Mm-hmm.
I had an intimacy with light. I had an affinity with light before, but when I start to go out and feel the light, because the lighting was treated not as a disco flashy thing, it was really treated as lighting directions, emotional state of light. So this is where I started to love light, to feel light, to understand light, the direction, what it made you feel in terms of on your body, because light, as before light would generate heat. How do you feel? You're blinded by light. You're submerged by light. You don't see anybody around you when there's too much light because you're blasted. So all these approach really, I think, sort of ignited me to the power of what lighting could do.
Right. And so how did you determine what you were going to study in university? What approach did you take to that? When you look at the interest that you had through school and what you described now at the age of 16.
So it took a really interesting turn. So I started to go out in the clubs.
Okay.
In the weekends, like every kid, city kid. And then I loved the idea of design. So I started to design lamps. I was 16, 17 years old. I used to buy metal sheet, like galvanized metal, and I would pour concrete in my bedroom.
What?
Create cylinders of concrete.
Are you kidding?
No, and I'm not very manual. I'm a klutz. So imagine I would take tubes of like cardboard tubes. I would pour concrete, and I would take those sheets of metal that I used to cut with big scissors, like metal scissors, and I would do perforation with a manual drill. This is not a real drill, like a manual drill. And I would create those lampshades that I would twist. I would find a way to put the screws in the concrete before it dried. And I created those lamps, those concrete lamps.
Do you have pictures of any of these?
Oh yeah, I can send you. I don't have any here, but
okay.
For sure.
So for those listening right now, you need to understand the way that this podcast works. If you're new to this, again, this is non-visual. You can understand that at this point. You've been listening. There's no visual element to this because so many of the people that I speak with their craft is visual. This is intended to be simply audio. However, there's a visual component. So if you head over to Instagram during this week, you'll be able to see the work that he describes here as what he'll have perfected professionally. But through stories, I will share some of the images of what you have created when you were a teenager. Because what an incredible thing. I mean, if that was in my house and it was my kids, I'd be losing my mind.
So here's a story. So I was raised by my dad,
Yeah.
and my aunt played the role of my mom. you
Okay.
know. And so my aunt was, well, much more fortunate than we were. So she had bought me this beautiful wood desk, beautiful wood desk to study. So imagine I would perforate hundreds and hundreds of holes on those metal sheet on that desk. My dad was like, not that he didn't care, but he was like, whatever.
Yeah.
So I was left in my room creating those lamps, pouring concrete, spinning metal. And then I'll be honest with you, sometimes in life when you're a teenager, it's hard to understand your purpose. What's my purpose? And for me, when I started to play with light, it became a passion. Like I felt good. Lighting was taking me to do actions that I was not very good at. I'm not very
Right.
manual. So I would cut metal, pour concrete, perforate things, twist things. So that's what I was doing at the end of my high school. So if you can imagine.
Yeah.
And then what happened is I finished high school with pretty good grades. And I was like a good student, okay student. I was never a drinker. I used to go out, but I was never into anything that was bad or. And in CEGEP, which is college, we have CEGEP here in Montreal, I did 2 sessions and I was not very good at, and I was not focused. I was supposed to be an accountant. And then my 3rd session, I told my aunt and my dad, no, let me take a sabbatical, because I was not doing well. I was not applying myself to school. So I took 6 months off and I started to get one of my first jobs in lighting in a venue. And then I knew this is what I wanted to do.
But hold on a second. I gotta step back just for a moment before you go into this.
Okay.
If you're listening and you've ever tried to cut paper and do a nice clean cut with scissors on paper, you can understand that sometimes you might have that small little edge between the completion of one cut to the next. Okay, I'm just saying this to listeners. So the reason I'm saying that is because if you now take that, then you add the fact that you're going to use metal shears. Metal shears are heavy. When you go to cut metal, if you are not good at cutting in general, it becomes very hard to have a nice clean line along the cut of that metal. In addition to it, what Francois you're describing was not using an impact gun or a power drill to go into it, because people don't see the visual. There is a former drill that would have been used that you'd put your hands on either side of it, and like a bike pedal, you would move your hands to power the drill through the product, which means the perforation wouldn't be quite as clean as what you potentially get out of a power drill. So when you talk about someone that's not so like manually inept or would be actually manually inept, that the skill set wasn't totally there. It's interesting to me that like you'd want to go and take those kinds of risk with product that could easily slice your fingers.
I know.
The fact that you've got all your fingers is a testament that you were not as bad as you say you were. In addition to that, I wanted to ask you, were you ever able to sell any of this?
So what happened to this is that I made like maybe 10 of those lamps, and I took it one day to the club. I started to go out and be a bus boy and wanted to be a lighting guy. And they looked at it, and one woman said to me, because they're all like, everybody that used to work in those places were like designers, they were fashion designers, and one told me, oh wow, it's pretty interesting, it needs some work, but it was pretty interesting. But me, I never took, I think the only person I allowed to be negative towards myself was myself in my life. I never allowed people to be. So that lady, she saw a kid making like spin metal and she thought it was interesting, but it didn't stop me. I
Okay.
continued and I continued and in that, so in my 6 months of break from school in that club, I was a busboy, I was a waiter, I went to do lighting, they knew it. I started to do raves on the side or techno events. And one night they let me do the lighting in that place.
Okay.
It was a nice last night before they would do an overall of decor. Every 6 months that club would change decor lighting. And that night I, by mistake, at the beginning of the night, erased the board. Not like the lighting board. I pressed the wrong button and I erased the board. And so imagine that thing is patched. So there's like 800 people in the place. It's a Sunday night. It was like the booming night.
Oh my
But you
God.
know what? I said, screw it. And I did my light show and I went and I did my stuff. And one of the main DJ, I'm not gonna name him,
Yeah.
but was also in lighting, took me aside in a break and told me, you know, François, in life, sometimes we want to do some things, but sometimes we're not just good at it, you know? Maybe you want to do lighting, but maybe you're not just good at it. Imagine that. So for me, every time I got those
That's
things,
some that's some fuel.
you know what? It's fuel. You're right. So I was like, okay. I was like, screw it. You know, I was like 18 and
Yeah.
a half. I was like, fuck, screw that. You know, I'm just gonna push it. You know,
Yeah, you're not gonna define my life.
one thing told, I think when you're young, like for me, I didn't have a lot of sort of like parent structure.
Yeah.
It's not easy when you're a kid, but there's one good thing with this is that no one ever says you no. You know, like parents like, no, brush your teeth. No, you have to do your homework. No, you're
Yeah.
gonna do this. For me, I didn't have a lot of no's. So I sort of went in a very curious way in life. I would try things. No one ever said no.
Right.
No one said to me, no, you cannot do it.
Right.
So I would just try things and I just push things with a lot of instinct. So as you can imagine, that 6 months, I never went back to school. Because from that place, I worked on other venues. I started to really play with lighting. And early 90s was the time where technology came, moving lights and so forth. So the rest, I did go back to school at one point, much later when I was like 27, 26, in theater school to really go further in my craft.
So let's get into the next phase of life. Let's get into, you get into your late teens and 20s, and what does it look like for you now?
So my 20s were very interesting because I became really good at what I was doing. So I was doing lighting.
And sorry, you said CJEP before, but what did you end up doing did you end up going to university or no?
So what happened is that I never went back to CJEP.
Okay.
At 19, and I worked for probably from 19 to 26.
Okay.
So I worked full time. I started to work in clubs and venues.
Okay.
I started to do underground shows, underground events, corporate events. Technology changed in early 90s, so I knew what a moving light was before a standard lamp. So I became really well known for technology in Montreal. It was the beginning of the techno world. All the big techno events where they used to have Daft Punk and Chemical Brothers playing.
Wow.
The big raves, the big events with 20,000 people, where the lighting was a huge spectacle. Lighting was a scenography element.
Yeah.
I started to do that. And things were going well. My name were on posters and I was really had a good life and things were good, but I wanted to go further.
Okay, but hold on a second. Sorry, I don't want to did you do lighting for Chemical Brothers and Daft Punk?
I used to do projects where it was the beginning of Chemical Brothers and Daft Punk.
Yeah.
I used to do raves where they used to come and play.
Come on.
Yeah, I remember one show at Metropolis, I think it was with Chemical Brothers. I had created slides. I've slide with fans in front, and we're playing with this.
Unbelievable.
So,
okay.
yeah.
Okay.
So
sorry.
from that, I really played my craft, worked on my craft, and I was doing very well. But I wanted to go further. I wanted to go more into theater, more into stage lighting.
Yep.
Because when you do lighting in I would say in rock and roll or more in these events, you're very alone. It's you and your board. You do an interpretation of a space of music, but you're not really jiving with anybody, in the projects I was doing. So I said, you know what? At 26, I want to go back to school. So I tried to go to National Theatre School of Canada. They didn't want to take me at the beginning. I think they were probably wondering what's this crazy guy that does shows with 100 machines. What is he going to do in theater? But I really wanted to go into theater. So one year I applied at the Banff Centre for the Arts. There was a program, a lighting program, a work study, and it would only accept people that would finish their bachelor's in theater. So that year they actually accepted me before I went to school.
Wow.
And in the same year, National Theatre School accepted me in production, in theater production in second year. So then my life really changed. When I was like 26, end of 26, I spent 2 months in Banff. I can never thank John Avery, the director that really gave me my chance. And this I've learned. For 2 months I was there. I was working on 3 ballets and an opera.
Yeah.
Every time off I had, I would go to the library and look at videos of operas, of ballets, of shows. And I just sucked everything and, sucked all the information. And then I went to school. So I did 2 years of National Theatre School, and it was great. Then I really learned how to jive with people, jive with a sonographer, jive with costume designers, and so forth. So I finished school in 99, and, was a great experience. But what happened is like life took another turn. When I finished school, people that saw my work prior from me going back to school thought I was very rigorous to drop everything and go back to school. Because
Right.
at National Theatre School, you're not allowed to work. You sign a contract for 2 years. You're not allowed to work, paid or not paid.
Wow.
So rapidly after school, I started to do like operas, electroacoustic opera, multimedia shows. But then I started to do architecture. People that work with Jacques Villeneuve reached out in 2000. And Jacques Villeneuve was doing a big project in Montreal, like a club, a restaurant, a lounge, a huge building.
I just need to preface for anyone that is unfamiliar with who Jacques Villeneuve is, one of the greatest racing exports from Canada that has ever existed.
Yeah,
So
race car driver. Yeah.
if you
A
don't
legend.
know who Jacques Villeneuve is and you live in Canada, you have some work to do.
Shame. So life took another turn.
Okay.
So the same year, I got this job in architectural lighting. I didn't know what architectural lighting was. I knew
Right.
lighting. And then, so I worked on this project for 9 months and I loved it. I loved it because, when you do a show, an event, it lasts 3-4 hours. When you do a theater show, the runs is 30 days. You have to do quick. You don't have time to go really deep into design. When you do architecture, you work a year, 2 years on a project. You have time to really go deep in your craft.
Before we get back into Francois going deep into his architectural craft, let us talk about going deep into your own private oasis. There's nothing quite like the natural form of a perfectly designed swimming pool. It is not just about having water in your backyard, condo development, multi-residential space, or cottage, or hotel. It is about the architecture of the pool. It is about how it looks, how it completely transforms your outdoor environment, and how it makes you feel when you finally swim in it. Imagine the sensory experience and the tactile feel of a natural textured shore beneath your feet as you enter the water, beautifully enhanced by a custom integrated lighting system. This level of sensory design is exactly what you get when you work with Aquanta Pools. There's the distinct beauty in working with a private company. You receive the personal dedication of a founder who brings over 20 years of incredible experience in building custom pools and creating breathtaking aquatic environments. Working with a company like Aquanta only signifies the importance of what it means to have something so special right at your space. Aquanta allows you to fully customize your build with the most advanced features available. If training is important to you and you love open water swimming but lack the physical space for a massive lap pool, you have the opportunity to integrate powerful water jets and swim currents. This allows you to do continuous laps and train right at home. Furthermore, Aquanta provides access to highly advanced filtration systems. You can insert state-of-the-art eco-friendly technology, including ultraviolet purification, saltwater chlorination, and advanced chemical treatments to ensure your water remains pristine and safe. If you want to learn more about working with Aquanta and how they build something truly special for your space, you can visit their website at aquanta.ca, or you can head over to the liner notes, or you can email me directly and I can connect you with Yuri, the owner. My email address is Jonathan, Jonathan, at issuedforconstruction.ca. Now, back to François.
So 2001, 2000, I got the Jacques Villeneuve project. And
Crazy.
then GSM Design Montreal, this guy Yves Meran that believed in me, gave my first museum. I did a small exhibit for him in Quebec. And the year after that, he gave me my first international museum. I did
Crazy.
the Civilization Museum of Singapore. In Singapore, never did a big project. So I ended up rapidly, between GSM giving me museum work, the Jacques Villeneuve project brought in other projects.
Yeah.
Like companies like Sino Plus then hired me to do lighting for casino projects, lighting up big concert halls in Vegas. So it all became organically. It came from the love of light as a teenager. It came from understanding the craft in theater, understanding of like the power of light, the intensity, the lighting direction, the sensitivity of light, to then applying this into a more permanent setting, which is architecture,
Right.
and museum brand experience.
So, a question for you, because I find this element now so interesting. You went and I guess you incorporated, right? Early 2000s, you incorporated.
So what happened is that I was very dumb. I was alone.
Yeah.
I had one assistant, two assistant, three assistant. Then someone told me you should register it. I registered. And then one of my big clients goes to me, listen, you have to get organized because we're giving you big projects. So I think I incorporated in 2002.
Okay.
Incorporated the company, did a big loan at Dell, and got a big server and a lot of computers. And it grew like this. I never had a business.
But so tell me, because what I'm curious about is that early phase of the business, and you're talking about this really quick evolution, like early in the business.
Yeah.
How the hell were you managing physically the business, invoicing and all of that kind of stuff, while also going and designing and managing people that you had to onboard? Because now you've got like global reach, you've got travel days.
Yeah, didn't sleep much. So what happened is that
do you remember some of like the hardest things that you had to manage in that early phase?
Yeah, what was really hard at the beginning is that I had pressure from my clients to structure.
Right.
And at one point I did this huge loan with Dell, $20,000-$30,000, a big thing, computer, server, and then the project with that client didn't happen.
Oh my God.
For 6 months. So I was like, okay,
how am I going to pay this?
That's going to be, yeah. Listen, I was very lucky. I was lucky. And also, I think, naivety is a cool thing in life. Naivety is a very cool thing, meaning that I was very naive when I was young, poor and concrete. And I was very naive at the beginning. I just believed. I believed, I love my clients.
Mm-hmm.
I love my staff, my people that I used to work with. I had this girl, Sophie, started to work with me. We used to go to the spa on Saturday morning, like I'm a people person. For me, 80-90% of what I do is with people. The most important element is people, is my team. So at the beginning, how did I do it? Well, listen, invoice were very late. Invoice were done at night. People that was working with me, there were people that I went to school with a year before, a year after. They were a subcontractor. So we started to work, in my apartment in Montreal. When I moved to the country in Hudson, I transformed the garage into an office. So people drove from Montreal to Hudson. And then
how far did that drive?
40K.
Okay.
Like 40 minutes. But then at one point we were like 6 or 7. So that was getting to be a lot, or 8. So then we moved to Montreal.
But like
a loft.
as you say this, I mean, what I'm thinking about is like now you've got employees,
Yeah. So you have
right?
employees. So now you need someone to help you do the bookkeeping.
Yes.
You
Yeah.
need to have some. Yeah.
Payroll,
So
like all your payroll stuff. You have to think about insurance. Now you've got to worry about sales and how you're feeding these 7 to 8 people, and like the stacking the pressure up here in this is huge.
what's interesting is that some people start a business with a business plan. They lay out things.
Not the people I interview.
I didn't. I love lighting and I love my client.
Yeah.
And hey, François, can you do this? For sure. I never say no. In school, people were so stressed about, being overbooked. I got stressed 4 months at school. I said, screw it. You get a job. You have to trust the universe. Schedules always will align. I believe in this. Been doing this for 37 years now.
Yeah.
So it just went really organically, but
Okay.
also I was very lucky because I still have amazing people. I didn't have a lot of bad people around me. I did have some, but most people were very cool. Their invoice were paid a bit late at the beginning. The phone.
And it's fax. Like back then, there's a lot of faxing. It's not as much like there's email, but like you're not emailing an invoice.
No, there was not much email.
So
Like just a printer.
Yeah.
I remember getting my first printer. I bought a Xerox machine
Oh,
in
that
the
was
in
a
the
huge
in the
investment.
garage. Imagine we had a Xerox machine in the garage, and it had its own line. So, but it was amazing. It was the time where you would buy AutoCAD. There was no subscription. You would buy AutoCAD. You would buy like LD Assistant. You would buy Vectorworks. You would buy all those softwares. It was much easier.
Right.
It was much easier compared to now where the cost is astronomical,
Yeah.
if you look at the software. But it just grew. Like the thing just grew, and I've done always biz dev very organically. We're still best kept secret. After 24 years, we're still that sort of shop where, there's a buzzer, people come in. It's like, like in Paris, you have Saint-Honoré, all the big stores. There's a side street. You have to go on the side street. There's a little tailor. There's a buzzer. You're buzzed in. We take care of you. There's only 4 models of shirt, but the shirt fits just right. So I'm always been like this. I'm always been involved in all the design meeting. The client calls at 9 o'clock at night, I answer. He calls 8 o'clock in the morning on a Saturday, I answer. It's high level service.
Yes. I mean, most of the successful businesses that exist are that way. Some of them definitely do structure themselves in a way that they can be accessible at certain times. But if that's your model, that's your model, and it's worked. I mean, there's no one to question it. So tell me, so you moved back to Montreal with 7, 8 people because the garage didn't work.
Well, first of all, what happened is that someone says, "Hey, dude, like we're all driving to Hudson. Why don't you are the one that drives to Montreal?" And I said, "You know what? It makes sense." So I rented a loft.
Okay.
And we stayed there 2 years. And then I was lucky. I found a spot in Lachine, which is in Montreal. This duplex, and it was a hockey store, hockey equipment store called Joe Sport, an institution in Montreal. So it was abandoned for a few years. So we bought like the building of Joe Sport in 2007 or 8, and we created our office, and we're still there. So we created this beautiful space. We kept the glass facade. It's baited with natural light.
Go ahead. Finish the thought.
We have like 1,600 square feet of mock-up room in the basement to do our lighting test, and we're still there.
So what I do want to do as a takeaway from this specific portion of this dialogue, you talked about before having taken out the loan with Dell for 6 months where you struggled with a payment potentially, right? We didn't really dabble there. We didn't go too far into that, but I could see on your face that was a tough time. But then you get to the point where you're going to go into space and you buy the space. Yeah. And I say that because you've established yourself enough in the business that now taking on the purchase of a physical space now also becomes an asset. And I say it because with a lot of businesses, they don't necessarily buy the space, they lease it. So now you've created a separate entity of your business that can turn into something else should you ever need it to, which is a great business model if you can achieve that.
Which I did actually, because I created an holding, and the holding bought the building, and the holding now has its own,
Business.
business.
Yeah.
So,
It's
but
brilliant.
you know what? I would say, business-wise, sometimes you have to really look at the unexpected. We bought this building; it was abandoned for many years. It looked like shit.
Yeah.
Looked like crap. But no, we had vision, and we fixed it, and we gave it love, and now look, we have an office. We're office free since 2008 or 9. We
Right.
have this beautiful space. If we're gonna rent a space like that, it would be so expensive. Would never have the volume of space and the space to do mock-ups.
Yeah, especially in the heart of the city, right?
Well, we're not downtown, but we're very close. We're close to the airport. We're like 20 minutes away. It's very, very central.
Right.
But it takes, again, because you just talked about business. I think in business, if you try to do every calculated move, I think you're gonna fail. I think in business, you have to have spirit, you have to have guts, you have to believe in yourself and believe in the universe. And sometimes you just have to be a bit naive. I think for me it worked.
I-
Just believing, and just like, I didn't make any crazy big purchases, or I didn't take any very high risk things, but I just believed.
So I mean, I one of the quotes that I've always loved is that Bruce Lee quote about you want to be like water. Are you familiar with that quote?
No, but I understand. I feel it.
Right? You move like water, and it allows you to fill in like the small little cracks, but it also, you have large bodies of it, so you're always moving. So with that motion, you can breed success. So talk to me now about how things evolved over the time since 2008, when you say, like, okay, now you're debt free of the space.
Yeah.
Which also is like mentally freeing, right?
But debt is not a bad thing.
I understand that, but no
People
debt
are
is also
afraid
much
of-
better.
Yeah, I know, but people are afraid of, like, I don't know. People are afraid of, like, line of credit and everything. I always say, like, okay, you're on the line of credit, it's okay, but if you're on a line of credit and you have no receivable, that's a problem.
Yeah.
But if you have a line of credit and you have 3 times the amount in receivable,
Yeah.
that's okay.
Look, there's people that build like entire empires based on borrowing. So
Yeah.
no question that it can be a good model. But I'm saying it more so from the fact that, like, when you look at being in a space where creativity runs rampant, and it can define the success of your business, when you're now free of the thought of having to have those payments, now you can actually have your money do even more in a different type of way. And you could also take out a loan at a different rate than a mortgage, right?
Or for
You
sure.
could do a line of credit. Nonetheless, so let's talk about now the evolution of the business from 2008 forward, scales of project, some of the excitement that starts to happen.
So Lightemotion, I would say, around the recession of 2008, 2009, really boomed. We had already a really high level portfolio internationally of museums, of architectural space in Vegas and so forth. But then they took an expansion. We did like a Revel Casino in Atlantic City in 2012. We started to do a lot of projects in Quebec.
Okay.
Like Place des Arts, Complexe des Jardins, the casino in Gatineau. So the architectural part, so we have 2 wings at Lightemotion. We have the architectural wing, which is like internal illumination, hotel, retail, public areas, public venues, and then the external portion, lighting facade, heritage building, and so forth. And then we have the museum brand experience.
Okay.
Exhibits, new museums, refurbishment museums, brand experience, which is the big, exhibits that we do with Dior, with Louis Vuitton, and so forth. So 2010, 2020, the museum and the architectural really like took off. We started to do master planning. We did the master planning of the parliamentary precinct in Ottawa. So that brought a lot of external illumination, East Block, West Block, Senate Building of Canada, Postal B, 180 Wellington. Then people that saw our work brought us in the team that does the center block. So now we're doing the lighting for the center block, the Parliament of Canada. So that's all the internal lighting, the Senate, the House of Commons, the whole thing, the facade lighting, all the hill, the you know, like the triad. So that's a huge part
Right.
of our work. We work also on projects like Sofitel. We did Fairmont. Now we're doing Club Med in Mont-Tremblant. We're called upon a lot of proposal. We got called to do a museum in Milan. We're doing now for a store in New York. So
And
the architectural, good.
no, go ahead. No, go ahead. Finish.
So the architectural really took off, but always, the service that we provide always been like a very high level of service. It's a very high level of effort. Like we don't go after like the lowest bidder. We don't do the low bids. I did this a bit between 2010 and 2020, but after COVID, we decided to not do that. So we really are into like high level of effort of projects.
Right.
People that call us, they know that they want that quality. We're not expensive to be expensive. I think our wages are the same as other people. It's just that the level of hours we put on a project is different.
Well, that and rapport, who people are, there's always going to be a different form of connectivity between different types of people. So
yeah,
like,
for sure. And also like in Canada, what's a bit hard is that, our profession as lighting designer is not very established. In the US, in the UK, in Europe, in Asia, when they do a program of a building, they'll put, a landscape, interior design, an architect, a lighting design. In Canada, what's hard is that the engineers do it. The lighting rep does it for free often.
Yeah.
So for people to really hire a lighting designer, they really need to understand the added value. This is why for us, most of our clients are the decision makers. In architecture, people that hire us are the decision makers. Architects want to work with us, but the contract often is with the people that understand the added value of good lighting.
So yeah, that's actually what I was going to ask you. So who are the clients? Are the clients architecture practices? Are they interior design practices? Are they the construction management or project management or general contractor? Like who's hiring you?
So in the two worlds, so the architectural world and the museum is very different. So architectural world, I would say we are often presented by architects or interior designers. They like to work with us. But the people that hire us are often the decision maker, like the Fairmont, the people that own the Sofitel,
Like the client.
the client.
Yeah.
We did the National Art Centre of Canada in Ottawa, the client. So the client often will hire us and will, I don't want to say the word impose us, but it will say to their design team, okay, we want to work with this lighting designer.
Right.
In the world of brand experience and museum, the role is different. Exhibit designers understand the role of a lighting designer. So a lot of the projects come from exhibit designer, like in France, in Canada, in Singapore. We've been working in Singapore for 24 years now.
Right.
Every year we have a project in Singapore.
Crazy, man.
But in the museum and brand experience, what happened is that now the brands are calling us. So now we work directly with Dior. We work directly with Louis Vuitton.
And what do you think it is that led to that? How did they end up being the ones that found you as a result of what?
Well, it's word of mouth. I think, there's two aspects of business development. I think I'm clumsy at business development, I'll be honest with you, in a sort of like typical way, but in a very organic way, word of mouth, we're very efficient. Some clients, they listen, they call us from around the world and they don't need us. Like in France, there's phone books of lighting designers. In Asia, in Singapore, in Shanghai, Hong Kong, there's phone books. The reason why people call Lightemotion, it's not because we're less expensive, because they want that high level of service and caring. In business, there's two things. Either you're heart-driven or ego-driven. Ego takes you so far, but heart-driven takes you very, very far. And the way we care about our clients, the way we put the client in the center of the design process is key. Because, I'm not designing a project to have another picture in my book. My book has like 400 pages.
Yeah.
I'm designing a project to make sure that the client feels good in it. I'm really responding to their need, to their business objective. So that's the way we operate. So architecture, I would say, decision maker, and museum brand experience, a lot of exhibit designer, but more and more, I would say, the clients, the decision maker.
Okay. And as you look at your business from where you are at the current phase, and as you go forward, understanding that you don't have a business model per se, and you don't, or now let me rephrase that. Business model, you have. Business plan, you don't, or maybe you do now.
We do have a business plan.
Okay. So let's talk about, what does the evolution of your business look like as you go forward? Is there a specific typology that you haven't touched yet that you want to? What does it look like for you?
So to answer this, I need to go back to COVID.
Okay.
COVID,
I'll put on my mask.
Okay, no, don't put your mask. So just before COVID, we're running 47 projects at a time. Yeah, we always run 40, 45 projects. So we had 47 projects at the beginning of COVID, and we went down to 7 projects. It was the best year ever. Because
you could focus.
And also between 2010 and 2020, we played the game. We played the consultant game,
right,
of we have to be the lowest bidder, we have to cheap out, we have to cut. So we were always like struggling. So when COVID came, I took a radical decision and say, I'm not going to answer all those RFPs where I know it's the lowest bidder. I'm going to waste my time. We cannot cut corners. I cannot tell to my staff, a project manager that has 6 projects at a time, this one put more volume, this one put less energy. We can't do that. We have to do the things with la règle de l'art, the best in best practice. So the way we turned around Lightemotion during COVID is that we regroup, we laser focus our sort of like where we want to go. We want to go into high-end, higher level of effort projects where lighting means something. So big government projects, center block. Now we're doing block 2, where lighting is very, very important. Big museum projects, big brand experience project where we can really serve. So now the business model is we're catering to those 2 worlds, architecture and the museum brand experience way, but in a very high level, high level of service, meaning that we don't do low bids, we don't buy out jobs.
Yeah,
we're very open with our clients. We're very open when people call us. We'll say to them, we're going to put a lot more hours. We're very transparent with them on where the hours are. And sometimes we don't get the project.
Right.
I can tell you something. Often when a client doesn't give us a project, a year or 2 after, they will call us back because they understand that they pay what they get.
Yep.
Yeah. So this is the approach. We're now, I would say, about 18 to 19 people.
Wow.
We have 5, 6 people in Toronto. We have people in Montreal. We're putting someone full-time in Paris in fall to respond to our clients in Europe. So we're growing organically, but also like small growth. I would say like controlled growth. Again, always in the approach of like, taking care of our clients. We have 98% return business. 98% return business.
That's crazy, man.
We always work with the same people. If someone doesn't call us back because it was a one-off.
Right. I mean, I'd also have to assume that in some capacity, and you can correct me on this, but the assumption that I have is that you're also having someone leave a workplace to go somewhere else, and they take you with them to the new place. Have you ever had that happen?
Not often, to be honest.
Okay.
No, it's really because we're client based.
I know.
It's the client. It didn't happen yet, for sure. If you work with someone in a big hotel company, if they go somewhere else, they would most likely we hope they call us.
Yeah, right. Or they'd fall into that low 2%. They wouldn't want to be a part of that system.
Yeah. We rarely have clients that are not happy. But also I'm very involved. I build a structure where I'm able to be involved in the design process.
Right.
I have amazing project managers, senior designers, senior associates that take on a lot of the lead, but I'm always involved. I find a way to just go into meetings, talk to the clients, and I'm like the thermometer. I'm like the thermometer in projects to make sure that we're always still focused on what's the client need, what's their business objective,
Right.
what do they really need. Maybe we'll think, this lighting would be great, and that would be the best way to do it. But is it going to serve you?
Right.
If you do a project and the client doesn't take ownership of what you do, it's a big fail.
Right. Francois, this has been amazing. I have a couple more questions to ask before we wrap, and that is, so when now you look at what you are doing for yourself, you did make allusion to this early in our discussion, that 6 months ago you got back to playing guitar. What are some of the things that you have found you're able to now start to leverage with having run your business for as many years as you have, and being a little bit more efficient now, having a business plan? What are some of the things that you're getting back to that you didn't necessarily have the opportunity to do in the first, call it 20 years of the business or 30 years of your professional career?
If I'm honest with you, I think it's trust. I think at one point I'm a bit ADD, so you tend to want to do everything and control everything. I think it's letting go and trust. I have a great trust in my team.
Yeah.
And understanding, like, things are relative. Some things are urgent, some things are less urgent. And for me to be efficient, to take care of my team, which is number one, and then my client, I need to take care of myself. If I don't take care of myself, put your mask first on the plane and then put a mask on others. So in my 40s, I was very good at that. I would train, I would eat well. COVID was a bit of a curveball. I used to deliver projects on Zoom. I used to do Zooms of 14 hours straight, focusing lights in China. So now I'm back at taking care of myself more. I trained, I eat well, I meditate every day. Every day since a year and a half, I do a transcendental meditation every morning.
Incredible.
I get up, I have 3 glasses of water, and I sit down for like 23 minutes. And this is religious. Wherever I am in the world, I can be whatever country. Last year I was in 5-6 countries different. I'm always do this in the morning. So I meditate. I try to eat well. I try to train, exercise, and also feed the soul, like human interaction, outside work, music. I'm trying to go back to guitar. So now I took classes.
Yeah.
And when I was younger, I used to do chords,
Yeah.
But now I'm studying classical guitar, the real thing. So I'm relearning like where the notes are on the guitar. I'm learning to read music. And it's very different. Classical guitar, it's like piano. You have 2 hands,
I know.
It's the same thing. So unfortunately, I have a bit of a rotator cuff tear that I did like last fall in Jeddah. But, I work out and I still play a bit. I'm a bit on a pause for that. But yeah, I'm trying to do things for me. I'm trying to, and also like I want to feed my soul and also helping people. I'm starting to think, should I do a lecture and go see kids? I didn't have a very easy upbringing. Maybe I should go and talk to young kids, talk to young teenager and see how they're feeling and how you can inspire people.
Yes.
In a very sort of like modest, humanistic way.
Well, making kids aware that there's a career that they might have never thought of.
Yeah, but also I think it goes further than that. I think it's more about, like life. When life throws you lemon, make lemonade. Like, believe in yourself.
Yes.
The biggest power you have in life, no one can take that away from you, is the belief that you have in yourself and your integrity and your word.
Yeah.
So I think for me, I'm 50. I just turned 55 in February. So this is what I'd like to do. I'd like to have more time. Thank you. 55, man. Can't believe it. I'd like to take more time to do that,
Yeah.
I'd like to help people like I'm helping my clients, but I like to do that, but in a more humanitarian way.
Right.
I don't know what that means. I don't know how to articulate this, but this is what I'm feeling.
Well, the more you talk about it, the more it'll evolve.
Exactly.
Be like water.
Exactly.
Francois, man, I have so enjoyed talking with you. It's been a pleasure. I appreciate you opening up about everything. And what a business you've created for yourself. I wish you nothing but continued success. And, the next time, obviously, if you're in Toronto, let me know. I'm
For
happy.
sure.
I'm happy to have some terrible jamming with you on guitar.
Oh my God, you can. I see guitars. You can teach me.
I
But
don't
actually,
know.
I'm gonna be.
I don't know. I don't know how to play them. I just have them.
Oh no. Oh, well, actually, we're gonna be in Toronto more and more. We're starting to do a lot of work. We're working on the legislative building
Okay.
across the park, and we might work on the park too. We're hoping to get a call.
Okay.
So I love Toronto. It's
Yeah.
a great place. We're very lucky in Canada. I think we have a great country and great people.
I agree. François, thank you again. It's been a pleasure.
Well, thank you very much for your time and for the opportunity of sharing. Are you gonna send me your bill after, or that's like for my therapy session? Or?
The bill will be in. I'll fax it to you.
Here's my number.